People traveled a long way to get here, and we're very glad to have people in the audience and also up on our introductory panel from all coasts, from all parts of the United States. I know there are folks from Kentucky and Oregon and California and Texas and Wisconsin, and certainly from the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic states who are here. My name is Ben Manski. I'm the Executive Director of the Liberty Tree Foundation. We are one of the sponsors of this conference. And I'd like to begin by thanking the organizations that made this conference possible. First, of course, the National Lawyers Guild at Georgetown Law School. Please put your hands together for them. I see a couple of law students on a Friday night that just entered the room, or maybe otherwise. I don't have my glasses on, but you know, very glad to have you here and to make these facilities available to us, and very grateful to Georgetown Law School for sharing these facilities with the public and with the broader community as well. I want to thank Veterans for Peace, Military Families Speak Out, Democrats.com, and After Downing Street for coming forward in a major way, making financial contributions, helping to promote the conference, to get the word out in a very active way, and also to thank our sponsors, Code Pink, Institute for Policy Studies, Iraq Veterans Against the War, the National Coalition for Nonviolent Resistance, Peace Action, and Progressive Democrats of America for coming together in this conference and in this event this weekend, which I know that there are many people all across this nation are watching to see what comes out of this conference. We've received scores of emails saying, is this going to be on C-SPAN? Will this be webcast? Can we get reports? Can we get DVDs? And so, you know, we're the elite few who are able to participate in person, but there are many people here in spirit. I'd like to make a couple technical announcements. I want to let people know that tomorrow our sessions will be in room 202, which is down the hall, and that's where you should check in the morning. And also to let you know that if you would like to order a bag lunch, the essentials of the stomach are always front and center, so I'm going to bring those front and center. There is the opportunity, thanks to the work of Benson Scotch and Sarah Scotch, to put in an order at the registration table on your way out tonight. I should also mention that there were many individuals who made this possible. Some of them are here in the room today. Jean Athey, Leah Bolger, Elaine Broward, Jeanette Day, Michael Fisher, Samantha Godwin, Bonnie Gorman, Sarah Manski, Ben Scotch, Sarah Scotch, certainly Sarah Scotch, who's put in Yo Woman's work here, and David Swanson. So please extend a round of applause to all of them. All volunteers. I want to begin by introducing the speakers. Rather than introducing them one by one, I will introduce them as a group today, and really rely on all of you to say anything in addition that you find relevant that I have left out. And I'll begin with our first panelist, who is Phyllis Bennis. She is a fellow with the Institute for Policy Studies. I should say I'm also an associate fellow, junior fellow with IPS, and I'm very glad of that. And she is also with the Transnational Institute in a fellowship role. She coordinates the New Internationalism Project and has published many, many books. She has a book forthcoming that is entitled Ending the U.S. War in Afghanistan. She has recently published a book titled Ending the Iraq War. Other books that you might want to pick up and spend a little bit of money on include Challenging Empire, and also her contributions to Mandate for Change and to War with No End. So very well published public intellectual. Please welcome Phyllis Bennis. To her left, we have Geoff Millard, who I've just met tonight, but I've heard incredible things about you in the last several weeks before this conference. He is the chair of the board of directors of Iraq Veterans Against the War. He joined up with the Army National Guard right out of high school, and the timing was such that he found himself in the post 9/11 era deployed to Iraq. And I'm sure you'll be speaking to that experience as well as a much broader experience, that is the experience collectively of Iraq Veterans Against the War. IVAW chapters across the country have been central components and leaders of the Bring the Guard Home campaign, and their voices have been very important. So please welcome Geoff Millard. To his left is Elaine Broward. Elaine is a member of Military Families Speak Out, quite active with Military Families Speak Out. Her son has been redeployed. Is this the third time now, Elaine? Third time. And I know that you had a political consciousness before the 9/11 era began, but that this has certainly heightened her involvement. Elaine has been a leader in the Bring the Guard Home campaign in New York State and also nationally. Those of us who remember January of 2008 know that Elaine was one of the very first to contact us and to say this is something that we need to do in New York State and New Jersey, and has really provided important leadership ever since. So please welcome Elaine. Very good. See, we're really building up some momentum here. To her left is the token attorney, and if there are any other attorneys on the panel here, this is really the movement panel for this session tonight, and Kevin Zeese is definitely a movement attorney. He served early in his career as general counsel to the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws.
That's why I'm a token attorney?
That's right. We worked this out before the event started. And Kevin is such a busy man that Jeremy Scahill came up to him before the session started and said, "When do you ever sleep?" And it's true, because whatever front you're looking at, whether it's his work with the Campaign for Fresh Air and it's fresh air and clean politics, in terms of working for public financing and for election reform, whether it's his work around single payer, and that's really occupying a lot of Kevin's time, or it's his work supporting the Bring the Guard Home campaign in Maryland State, where he testified recently on behalf of the campaign. Kevin has been a stalwart. He co-founded Democracy Rising with Ralph Nader in 2003, and very glad that you were able to join us tonight. And then finally, at the end of the table, the far left, we have a gentleman who I first met and heard of. He got a roommate of mine arrested. I'm still going to blame it on you, Jeremy. Jeremy Scahill is very well known for his incredible work as an independent journalist, reporting from all over the world and from scenes of conflict, both overseas and also, unfortunately, domestically sometimes. He is joining us tonight in particular because of his work in publishing Blackwater, which has the subtitle, The World's Most Powerful Mercenary Army. And if you haven't picked that book up, I suggest that you do so. But when I first met Jeremy, there was a small action that took place. I think it involved 2 people of conscience, is that right?
I have no idea what you're talking
about. A long time ago. ROTC had a flag lowering that was unauthorized at UW-Madison, and our friend Vance Gathing was arrested in that. And so it's been amazing to see the trajectory of your work and your career, and I'm very glad you could come down here today. I'm just going to say a few very brief words about the subject matter of this panel. This panel addresses the question, and I'll read it to you. This was a question that was posed to me by my colleague Benson Scotch, who is in the audience tonight. Peace, advocacy, and defense reform, an oxymoron or a necessity? Is it possible for people who are champions of nonviolence and nonviolent alternatives to develop an agenda for defense reform? Is it possible to be a pacifist and to advocate for a military of any kind? And if so, what does that look like? What does that advocacy look like? What does that kind of movement look like? What are some of the challenges involved? And so that is how we're beginning this discussion this weekend, because the Bring the Guard Home campaign, it's the law. The conference, Who Decides About War, the National Conference on War Powers, Law, and Democracy, which we are all joined here together to deliberate on. These are coming together of people in the legal community and people in the streets and communities, folks who are most directly impacted. And there's been some tensions along the way, honestly. These are 2 communities of people who don't often work well together. And that's really what we're striving to achieve, is that kind of synergy, because if you're going to have a movement that will genuinely seek to democratize defense, You have to have the energy and the passion of the anti-war movement, and you have to have the understanding and expertise that is to be found in the halls of our state legislators, and in law schools such as Georgetown Law.